Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So good morning, everyone, and also happy Monday. It's February 23, week two, day one stand up. Yeah. So week one is officially done. We have 11 more weeks to go, and I would say, consistently remind you that week one to week four are the most important weeks for us because this is where we really gauge your performance and also consistency and how you're adapting to the program. So these early weeks are everything that will set the tone to everything that comes after. So we will also be sharing the week one leaderboard by midweek. So you will see where you stand now. So by now, I hope everyone is used to our camera on policy. So please keep your camera on when, of course, when you're speaking, not just during the stand-ups, but also when you ask or answer questions during the challenge intro sessions, or it could be the tutorials as well. Yeah, so that it becomes a habit as well. So yeah, before we start, who had their coffee of the day? You can maybe show me your reaction. Okay. Okay, I guess not so many people. So yeah, maybe for those who are fasting, I hope for those who aren't fasting, I hope the coffee is fueling you, and for the rest of us, we're fueled by the by the grace of God or Allah. So yeah, stay strong. And also one last thing I would say is more than the technical work, your motivation, your attitude, and also commitment matter the most. Because when I would say when these three are in place, the hard work naturally flows because flows and also follows because I think it's if you're motivated, you show up. If your attitude is right, you also stay positive even when the tasks or the things are a bit of confusing. And if you're committed, you push yourself to finish what you started. So that's why people with the right mindset always do well, even when the tasks get harder. So yeah. So for today's stand up, we will be doing a presentation of the previous work. So yeah, so I'll just hand over to Yapaban, and also the technical team is also on the call. So please make sure to raise your hands and also put your camera on when you're speaking. So yeah, that's being said, I will hand over to Yapaban.
Thanks, Rhodas. Yeah, so I think today what I want that everyone to do is just, I think this will be kind of a norm, but every Monday of basically the next week or after the end of the challenge, just is going to be about 3 minutes max for everyone to highlight the work. It's kind of a pitch document, basically. If someone is about to fund you, the work that you have done, you have to speak about it and you have to basically highlight. And of course, today you probably have not been prepared, but you can just open either your report or your GitHub, your code, whichever, and then kind of highlight the type of work that you have done, the achievements that you have achieved, and also maybe the challenge, but a lot more focus on the achievements and what it did in a way that really illustrates your work, and your understanding and your mastery of it. Even if knowing it was a week, a lot of things has not been done, but still speaking that in that manner, where it's kind of you highlight what actually you have done, and then you also highlight what's remaining, what's the challenge, what was the challenge, in a kind of very concise way. If something is not clear, just let us know. But from next week on, at least you will have a chance to know in advance, to prepare as well as you kind of, just so that you can share, you can put your thoughts. But while now anyone is thinking, just in the background, make sure to think, what you will highlight in such, let's say, very unexpected manner when you are asked, what did you do? What was your achievement? You should still be able to quickly come up with something that you can highlight. So who wants to start? Yeah, Johannes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so it was a great week, a very exciting week I had. Maybe to start with the achievements that I had, I think the main achievement is that the experience I had was AI assisted coding. The code base was big, the tasks were like kind of new to me, and it would have been unimaginable to do it within a few days without AI. And somehow I managed to do few features using AI, without even like reading in detail about the code base, the existing code base and such. That was a great experiment and a great accomplishment to me, I would say. Uh, to detail that what I have done, I have added in the extension, I have added a few features like both the pre-hook and the post-hook, like around 50% of both the hooks, the requirements. So in the pre-hook, it will create all the intents, all the active intents, the intent maps and such, and a little bit also on the post-hook to do the AST mapping and the Git repo mapping and such. I also did like a blocking. It will just block the AI from continuing without defining a spec and without selecting a spec. If there's no spec created using spec kit, the extension will block it and such. It was amazing to do it like in few days using AI agents. That was amazing. Maybe to the second question, what did I do to recharge over the weekend? The weekend was very short for me. It was just 1 day weekend. I was working on Saturday to do the submission. So on Sunday I just rested, and it's not feeling like enough. I will try to do more resting in today and tomorrow. I walked around the city yesterday alone just to see the corridor lot around. It helped, and also I slept a lot. Yeah, the shift in mindset that I got in the last week is a lot of knowledge about AI assisted coding. I have learned about the limitations and also the strengths of the models. I have clearly seen the difference also in the models. I was using GPT and Gemini, and I now can clearly see the capability differences. I found that GPT is superior to Gemini in my workflow at least, and also the whole dynamics, the whole breaking the whole problem to small steps and doing tests as I go and such. It was a great mindset shift. That's what I would say. Thank you. Any questions, if any? Please do.
Yeah, great. And I mean, anyone can ask as well. So just I will just time now. I haven't timed, but we will have 1 minute for anyone to ask Johannes based on your own experience. So one question to him from anyone.
Yes, I think Vista is.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Just a quick question. What have been the most challenging thing while working on the extension?
The main challenge for me was the code base was very huge, and when the models were like running the testers gripping and such, it was taking so long, every feature I was adding, it was taking like 30 minutes, 40 minutes of the implementation, and like doing something else, context switching and such was very tiring for me. It was also very new for me, that got me so challenged, and like somehow it was taking so long. I was like tempted to disable testing and such, but then I was worried that it may not be a good idea because it will be error prone. I was also even facing with errors, even having the testers running. So like the amount of time the agents took is just so draining to me. That was the quite the challenge. Another one I would also say was the scope. The project scope was very big, and I was like constantly thinking and breaking it down, just choosing what to do next and such. This was like new also to us. Mostly, as junior or mid-level developers, we are mostly given a short scope and what to do, and we don't really do much of the thinking. And for the first time, I would say I was like thinking hard in like scoping it, choosing what to do next and such. That was also challenging. Few of the challenges that I faced, I would say. Yeah. Interesting question.
Excellent. Okay, great. Thanks, Johannes. Yeah. So next is we have Johannes Derece.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. And
Okay.
just more as a recommendation, if you can share, even if quickly, whatever in the screen, it is good. But already because he was also sharing his video, it was fine. So we can still track, we can still follow. But sometimes if you are in audio, share something so that people can see. It's just more as a recommendation.
Okay. Can you see it? I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah, we see you. So
okay. So last week was very interesting and very challenging as well. But it gave me a lot of insight about AI, and I have changed like a whole perspective of how to use AI in the future, because I think I got the idea of its power. I already knew the power, but I really got it now. So I'm going to use it a lot in the future. So for the project part, in the extension, I was able to successfully integrate the Git layer, which is what the code base you can see here. But I couldn't integrate the mutation class because I was kind of trapped on my own hook, which is like we define the scope of the AI to not open the file outside until it's until it got permission. So I done that hook. It worked perfectly, but when I was trying to check the right file to write a file outside or whatever, it couldn't go outside my scope. I tried everything, but that was kind of a blocker for me. And I was able to integrate the handshake as well. And the AI won't proceed to the next step until it identifies which intent we are talking about. And another thing is, yeah, that's the examples of what I did. And the most the delivery part, what I was really mad about is my token ended in the last minute when I was just about to record my video, so I couldn't show what I did perfectly when the AI was doing. I couldn't show that. I could only show the code base. 1 hour before, my token just ended. I tried everything. I tried free tokens, but it really didn't work so well. So my video was just describing my describing my code base as well. So for the second question, I'm sorry, what was the second question? yeah, what did you do over the weekend? What has shifted in your mindset from week one? I just told you that, which is the usage of AI has really shifted, and I kind of know how to use it better now. So yeah, that's my presentation. If you have any questions, you're welcome.
So anyone can ask. So they are the two. This one you can use them like the one that's posted as a guide. Definitely it helps, but pitch your work more than just answering some questions. So it's kind of like really highlight what actually the work right now. I think you all, both you and the other ones, are slightly focusing on what you learned. I think it's good, like, that's exactly, but we want to shift slightly to what actually the work has been done, right? So I think, so during the whole week, we will definitely more follow up on kind of like how you do and how you progress as a person and your skills and competencies. But on Mondays, I think this is just a last minute change that I have done. Sorry about that, but it will be more streamlined. But on these ones on Monday, what we will do is you really focus on the work that you have done, right? So just that you're kind of selling the work, and of course it's the person, the person who did it also kind of matters, but a lot more like, let's say, like, this was achieved, this feature was achieved, this was difficult, this was something, and and finally the work is complete, and this will solve like the world's problem. It's kind of, you kind of give also context what it actually solves. So this is more like, as I said, we're just improvising as we go on. Okay, so there seems to be a question, or yeah, so anyone who wants to ask, who wants to help Johannes also sell himself. So we are already 4 minutes, so of course I will stop, but if there's one question, I'll allow.
Yeah. I would like to ask the same question as Mr. Like, what was your main challenge you are facing during the week?
Yeah, okay. So the main challenge was on Saturday, I was working, everything was going well. Like I said, the blocker really challenged me. I spent like 5 hours or 4 hours trying to get past that, which is getting trapped in my own hook, which is when I was integrating the Git layer, the mutation class has to be there. So when the AI tries to write, it should also tell if it's what kind of change was it, if it's architectural change or just syntax change. But I couldn't integrate that because the AI couldn't get past my scope. So that was really a difficult challenge for me. If I had passed that before, like 5 hours before, I would have done a lot more better. So that blocker was really challenging for me. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Next is Hermes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I will just share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, last week's challenge was an interesting one. It's really pushed me to study and to learn a lot of things. So for the implementation, let me just show you what I was able to generate using the prompts. So overall, I had some missing context in the challenge, so it took me a while to get to grasp the full context of it. So I didn't really realize the the role that we needed the SpaceKit library, how we are supposed to use it in this challenge. So I tried to figure that out, and after that, I was able to use the configurations or the configuration documents, the task definitions in the SpaceKit, and try to implement them with this extension. So here I have the to-do.md file that defines the tasks that I got from the SpaceKit definition, and based on that, I was able to generate the intents, including the constraints and everything. Here I went with both. I tried both scenarios. One is, since it's supposed to define the active intents, I tried removing the intents after they are completed, or just keeping it as the history. So just for this challenge, I decided to keep it as a trace, including the agent trace, which is defined after the task is completed. It adds the SHA-2056 for the changed files, and also it tracks with the task ID, so it can be tracked back to what was the intent. Based on that, also we have the intent map that would be updated on the post hook whenever the task is completed. The post hook would redefine the nodes. Usually the intent map is first defined at first before we run the tasks, and whenever there is a new task completed, it will be redefined based on the new nodes added. And also I tried implementing the select active intents. I used the to-do.md file to fetch the intents that are going to be implemented. From the prompt, it would match with which one of the tasks it's going to implement, and use that ID to select from the active intents, and you pass that to the pre-hook. And I believe also regarding the mutation objects, I used the LLM to figure out what kind of mutation it's going to be, and use that when writing to file, pass that object as a parameter, and use that for if I'm going to update the intent map or not. And one more thing. So I believe that's it.
Great.
Okay.
I'll just ask you one question. What does your code now do? Or what does your addition would enable client or rule pods do that was not before? So what value have you added?
Yeah, so it tracks the changes with regards to the intents that were supposed to have. That was the intent of the user. So it can track the history of what changed based on relating it to the intents.
And what will be the extension of this work, to make it more complete, in your opinion?
Do you mean what's missing, or?
Yes, to make it for example, useful. Now, if you just contribute this to RuCode as a, let's say as a feature.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Yeah, so I believe that some of the things are not generally applicable from my implementation. If we just use this for every project, it might not work correctly. I was testing it with project Chimera specifically. So I need to make sure that it works in different scenarios for that to be fully applicable.
Okay, great. Anyone? One question?
Yeah, I have one question for Hermes. So my question is how difficult it was, to scan through the extension code and, understand how the agent's life cycle works.
Sorry,
Did you get my question?
can you repeat that?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my question is how difficult was it, to scan through the extension code, to understand it and how the agent's life cycle works?
Yeah, so I used the Copilot for understanding the code clearly and trying to find different tools being used. So I tried to understand the core implementation first. Based on that, yeah, I believe it wasn't that wasn't the really challenging part for me. I had other issues other than that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
So then we have Taddasa Abatana.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, Taddasa.
Right. Share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So first, what I did was from the first root extension, it inherited the architecture of the root extension. The initial was the large box, as you can see here, and it ends here, the tool layer. So the hook engine or the governance layer will be added as, in the tool layer, so that it will have a pre-hook, post-hook, and state machine. That means it will ask for intent, and after verifying that there is active intent, it will take an action. Then this state machine, it defines whether the agent is thinking, whether the agent is thinking, requesting, or reasoning. So that's how I approach the program to implement the code base. That means if it's action only, it takes on destructive tools. That means writing files or so. But if it's in a request, it will just be like in chat mode. So we can interact with it. And it will reason that there must be an active intent when he reasons to take the action or the destructive actions. So this was the architecture I followed. Then the result was I opened. Can you see my screen now? Yeah. So I try to build a weather app with the raw code extension. So the first is defining the active intent. So the active intent was like this: request weather API 001 to follow the SFE factor to get it for the agent to map to map the and hash it. So as you see, the status is completed because it implemented it. So let's see the agent trace. The agent trace looks like this because I was interacting with it so many times. As you can see, I even added another intent 02, but that was not complete. That's why I removed the intent manually, but it was hashing and implementing it. So first, let's see the intent map this. As you can see, request 001 fast API user service. First, it was in progress. After completing it, it's assigned the status to completed. But here is the intent map empty. It was tracking everything he did. First, it plans, as you can see, plan MD. It plans how he approached the problem. And then he creates the requirement file, models, API, and main API. Even creates test files, and it maps the requirement ID and the hash map as required by hash 2.56. This was my implementation. The achievements I did was to get raw code working as required to execute files and intent handshake, hook middleware, and tool execution. And I followed strictly spec-driven development to implement this. That means it led me to create more than enough specifications. As you can see, I have 21 branches for me to implement this. And I implement the raw code with, let's see if it's, yeah, it is here. I integrated the raw code with Olama in Gemini. And it both works. The mistakes I made was left the documentation and video recording until the end. So I was so focused on implementing the tasks. So I didn't get enough time to do those. And the challenges I get was hitting quota limitations when I use anti-gravity because I was in free mode. And I faced really high cognitive debt because I was struggling to move forward without repeatedly checking the actual code, what it does, and that was really challenging for me. This was it. Thank you. If you have any question.
Excellent. I can only say you solved it quite good. But others have their own judgment as well. So, yep, any question? Anyone?
Yeah, I have two questions. And I can relate with you, Tadessa, with the cognitive trust and cognitive capacity limitation. So, like, do you actually manage to read the code, or how did you try to manage it, and what you learned, or any tips on that one? And I have the second question. The charts you have on your PDF are very interesting. How did you manage to have those charts, and what tools did you use?
Plotting the charts?
Yes, the charts on the PDF.
Yeah, I used Mermid.js as recommended by the team. First, I asked the agent to write me Mermid.js code. Then I use that code and go to free tools to change the code into the plot. I follow that approach for your second question. Do you have another question, or should I answer the first one?
Yeah, the first question was about the cognitive trust and such. So did you actually manage to read all the code that the agent was generating? Do you have any tips, or how did you manage on that regard?
So to manage the cognitive data, what I did was I tried to break down even the specifications and ask the agents to explain what it does, what that file does. All the code is in TypeScript, but I'm not a TypeScript person. I only work on Python most of the times. So that was even impossible for me to understand the code. So I try to break down everything if you can see here, there is any report folder. So this was all markdown files that is explanation and evaluation. I even asked it to evaluate the tasks against the specification if it implemented correctly or not. So as you can see, I see what it does on which file. So that was my method to manage the cognitive debt, but it was a lot, so I couldn't fully understand. That was it.
Maybe one last question. Did you face any bugs
Nahum,
created
can
by
you
the
mute Nahum? Nahum,
Can you repeat the
Nahum
question?
Desali. I think Nahum Desali, I think we have a noise probably, so if you can mute.
have you faced any like bugs when the AI was generating? Like, did you face any bugs on the generated code?
So my approach was test driven. So when it implements, it tested it first. That's how I approached it. So every code was tested. If you see, for example, let's see if it's oops, there is a test file. So it's already tested the code. So I don't need to worry, it works. And I even built it as a VSIX file, and I installed that as extension when I go to VS Code. I follow that approach. So I didn't see any bug in the code. I only evaluate whether it follows the architecture and the specification or not, and in which file it misses. For example, if you see here, there was a specification remaining architecture specs. This one was agent trace schema evaluation missing post hook, and hook registry dynamic was missing. It was not implemented. It is implemented, but it's not fully integrated. Therefore, I evaluate this and write another specification for it to implement it. That's how I approached it. So it was test driven. It didn't actually come as a code bug.
Awesome. I think you have done a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, This and then Mama.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Let me share you and start. I think you can see my screen, right? Oh, okay. So the first thing we need to do is that understand the problem. So we were given a task to transform LLMs from just freely acting generators to intent governed systems. So it was an interesting challenge. So we were given few tasks, so to transform our LLMs or agents from just acting freely or just producing some kind of codes or files without any intent or any scope validation. So the first thing I did is understanding the objective. To be frank, it took me like 2 or 3 days to understand the main challenge. So after understanding what is required from me, I just try to list it out. So just to point it out, I listed like 6 points. The first one is that any destructive operations should be governed by an intent. There should be some kind of intent to do some destructive operations. And next was there should be a scope. Even though there is an active intent, it should be within a scope. So we need to validate the scope. The other one is the traceability logging. So as we know that Git just helps us to know which file, which line of code is changed at what time, but not the reason. So for this challenge, we were asked to also include for what reason the content should be also hashed, and also what intent was chosen to do that change, and so on. The other one is that optimistic locking, which is to prevent concurrency or race condition. For example, if the agent reads some file and externally someone changes the file, and we ask again the agent to update the file, there would be some mismatch between the knowledge that the agent have in the current file. So we need to implement some mechanism for optimistic locking. And the other one is we need to inject the intents and so on. So I try to understand the base code, like highlights, so how it works and so on. So before implementing our hook, there was just a system prompt, then API handler, then we have our LLM, then it will respond, and the other tools execute the actions. But after I have implemented the hook, this would be the process. So there would be a system prompt plus the intent. Without the intent, no destructive actions would be performed. And also there would be some kind of shared brain so that the LLM or the agent understands the base structure and so on. Then I have the main hook. The main hook calls the pre-hook. So the pre-hook has a lot of tools, like it validates if there is an active intent and so on. Then also we have our intent manager, which loads the active intents from .orchestrator files and so on. And if there is an active intent, and also we have a scope validator, which validates the scopes. After that, there would be the tool execution. After the execution, we call the post tool hook, which calls the trace manage, intent manager, map manager, and also the file state logs, and then updates the file which are inside the orchestrator storage, like the active intent, the agent trace, the intent map, and so on. So it was an interesting challenge. I think I tried to address everything. So these are my hook. These are the files inside my hook. We have the main engine where we register our pre and post hook. Then we have our intent manager, which loads all the intents from active intent YAML files. We have the intent map, orchestration storage, which manages the file input and output operation done on the orchestration directory. We have the post, we have the pre-tool, we have the scope validator, the shared brain manager, trace manager, and so on. It was an interesting challenge. The things I faced is, the first one was understanding the challenge itself was somehow challenging, and also understanding the code base, which I just used cursor to understand how the root code of previously work and how I'm going to design my hook and so on. And the other one was, I think most of us have similar issue, was the API provider, API key. We used to run out a lot, so I tried to buy some credit on OpenRoute, and I tried to do work on it, and it was an interesting challenge. So I tried the project with the project Chimera. So I think I have done everything. I have my active intent, and based on the active intent, I tried to test the root code, and it worked well. So if there is no active intent, it does not produce any destructive activities and so on. And also the agent trace. So we have the ID, timestamp, which intent was chosen for this operation, what kind of operation was performed, and also the file path. The content should be hashed by SH256, and also the classification and other things. And also we have the other files which were requested. So far, I would say it was an interesting challenge. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, Mama. Any question, especially just to help if you are not convinced or if there was something to improve for him so that you can buy his product.
Yeah, finally, I could say that what is your output, or what have you done well that raw code does not do, is that I would say that my raw code is intent governed extension. The previous was not intent governed, so it was just free acting raw code.
Yeah, excellent. I think sometimes starting with that kind of statement, summarizing and ending as well, just that would really tight. Great. Just in the interest of the time, then let's just go to Sumia, and then we
All right.
to
Thank
Lou.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mama. Okay. Yeah, Sumia, go on. You are muted if you are speaking.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Am I audible now?
You are now audible.
Okay. This is what I do. And let's just go to the workflow and let's just explain about it. So my workflow started with.
If you are sharing screen, we're not seeing it. Just that.
Okay, my screen is loading, so let's talk until it loads. I think that's better.
Yeah, proceed. Yeah, exactly. That's we see it now. So, but anyway, just go on.
Yeah, it's I think. So my index execution flow looks like the phase one is the architecture establishment. After that, in my case, I think like we were talking Wednesday, we were talking about where do the root code get the intent. So I was just experimenting on creating an intent. So my first thought was to integrate the git spec it in this root code extension, but it didn't work out well. So I just took the idea that it's like, why not I create that analogy to this root code and create an intent. So first in the intent, so it create intent from the architecture. So we create docs and architecture MD first. So our root code see that there is an architecture and it see the prompt so that the root code can create an intent and any intent based on our prompt. If there's no intent there, that's much with our prompt. So that was the first thing that I do. After Wednesday, the thing that I experiment on this project. And after that, if there's an intent there, it choose the intent, but if there's not an intent there, that's much with our prompt or our action, then it creates an intent. It asks us we are creating an intent. So if when we approve, we create an intent in active intent.yaml. And in phase two, in pre-hook, it choose an intent selection. So it choose the active intent there, and then returns the XML block there. So after that, we do the tool execution in governance, means the pre-hook. We choose the tools, like it can be write to file, edit to file, and we have like the new. I have 3 new tools that I created for like create an intent and for like the agent to do the agent in the mind work there. And phase 3 is after the pre-hook. We have we go from the architecture to the code. We got the post hook after that. So that post hook records all the things there. It computes SHA 256 for the difference between the previous code and this code, and it classifies the mutation as either SAT refactor or intent involution based on. Actually, I use the two methods based on the semantic relation there. The first thing is if there's a lot of code, there's a lot of line of code changes, then in the second thing is if there's like a function change, it takes that and it classified as SST refactor or intent involution, and that's what I do. Am I good?
Yes.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. Here I just try to, the last one, I just try to create the test.js. And as you can see, there's like an active YAML. It creates an intent there inside with the detail of that intent. So this intent 006 and the other the 005 intents are the created ones. The root code created that based on seeing the architecture.md and the prompt there. So as you can see, I did a simple test in test.js. It was my prompt. So after thinking and analyzing the code, it asked me if I need an intent from the active intent. Then it created this intent, and then after that, it saved in the post hook. It saved all the data that we need. So in the agent trace.json, we see that the changes, the revision that we made, which LLM do that, and the SSH conversions, and in the agent.md, we can see the changes, the life cycles, the intent, the transition, and in the intent mode, there are the detailed intent maps, the things that we changed, and the intent number and the other things. So yeah, that was my work so far.
Excellent. Yeah. Any question? So I think one question I have, so is the intent evolution means one type of task that it actually updates the intent and writes them in the active intents?
Yeah.
Okay. So you designed it.
Yeah, I created that update. I can show it. As you can see, there's in the hook I created the create intent post test so that it can create. It's must to have like doc architecture.md file. It's a must. Like as it is like I use the analogy of the git spec kit. So based on the architecture and based on our prompt, it creates new intents in the YAML file. So that's how the root code can find the intent if there's no intent there. Because I think it's difficult for humans to write the intent there in the HTML. So I just thought when we were in the conversation, I just thought using that would be maybe effective.
Yeah, that's good. It's very good. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. So maybe just while we are here, so what I will do is that just following this, there will be the new challenge walkthrough, right? Thank you so much, Sumia. I think this was really good. So yeah, but I will allow other people to ask you but in the meantime, I'll also just announce. So we will continue just the challenge intro, but there will be 5 minutes after Lul, there will be 5 minutes just break so that you guys can do refresh and come back. So let's first just have anyone has question to Sumia, and then anyone else. Especially, what I like everyone to think is that, are you sold? Can you really just say like, oh, wow. Or what kind of question can you ask such that can turn or that can help her to improve for her next presentation. So is anyone any question for? If not, then
Maybe one question.
Yeah, go on, please.
Yeah, I mean, like, what do you think about the? Do you use GitHub Spec Kit for your development, like as Tadesse used? I tried to use the Spec Kit for myself. I tried it a little bit, but I have somehow abandoned it on the middle, and I was somehow impressed by Tadesse's use of it, and now I'm kind of convinced how it's going to be useful. So my question for Simea is, like, have you thought about using it, and do you have any insight about it?
Yeah, I try to use it as you said. I try to use it. I have some specs there, but the top tester was amazing. The testing was amazing. I didn't use like the testing method. I just have the general specifications. I use it somehow, but the top tester method was amazing and wow. And I really like it, and I will implement that in the future. I even take that as a lesson.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. But I also just like, actually, if like, yeah, integration is good, but having an active like intent evaluation generating, or kind of, I think this is the same as Spec Kit in a different way. And I think, all the creative ways and the different ways, I think you guys should discuss as well. As you go on, it's like, what would be a good approach? Just I'm you can form interested groups within, just to discuss, even if the project is over. Sometimes the same thing you will use it in again and again, and all times. And I think that the most amazing achievement would be, of course, can you use the same code you develop in your other projects, just like I think people have done for like the Chimera project or others. So that's good. So Lul.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Sorry for responding late. Let me share my screen. Is my screen visible? Yes. Okay. So let me just first, good afternoon, everyone. So let me first explain what I did. Before my implementation, what I added, my contribution, RuCode basically operates in such a manner where the task loop starts, and and it tries to build context, and after building context, it calls an LLM provider. I think everyone understands this. I'm just going over it again one more time to basically explain why I added what I added. So after that, it tries to present the assistant message. So when presenting the assistant message, this is actually what RuCode tries to call after basically getting a response from the LLM. So this is where basically tools get called. So what I try to do is I try to add a layer here in the tool use where, okay, code a specific tools that I wanted, like, for example, to basically map the intents to basically you need to basically a middleware where things start to happen before hooks are called. For example, before writing files, there must be intents, and the scopes need to be correctly the scope and what you make changes and what the scopes of the intent they need to align. So we add a middleware here that's my approach, was creating a middleware where, okay, I try to validate intents. I try to inform scopes. I hope my diagram is visible. So I try to import scopes, and also I try to map intent IDs. I try to trace the agent, basically what it did. I try to in the agent trace mode. So let me start from how it basically selects the intent. So my approach was sometimes it might not need intent. For example, when creating basically markdown files, or I basically try. There are different modes that Rucode operates, which is in architecture, it might be an architect according to, or different basically modes that it had already defined. So what I try to do is, okay, if you need, if this is any kind of changes where there might be intents, you might need intents, call a tool. So I try to list the intents. My approach was I basically make the LLM itself decide, okay, I need to have intents before I make changes. So that's why I created a list active intents and the select active intent tool. Basically, it will call this tool and basically, okay, I first need intent before making any operations. This is where, for example, each Rucode basically charts interface is a task, is a single task. So what I try to do is I try to attach the intent selected intent ID into the task, basically as a state. So later on, when I try to enforce the scope, it happens there. Okay, do I have intents? So there are middleware that run. So there are middleware that run before any kind of destructive changes, like for example, writing to files. So before writing to files, I try to okay, do I have changes? Let me open my code with me. So here, there are middleware that run before. Okay, I think it's better if I open it. This is the VS Code. So these are the middlewares that I have. So each middleware will perform a specific task. So the scope enforcement is okay. If these are destructive tools, I will try to get the selected intent ID and okay, is it properly? This basically enforces, okay, is it within the scopes? And also I have different like intent validation. Okay, do I have selected intent? If you don't have selective intent, you need to first use the selecting active intent ID to select intent. And finally, I also have agent trees. This was what I have been able to do. My final what I've been able to work on the past week, which is I was able to just basically make the agent trace its result, basically semantic ledger. Okay, what did you do, and which intents did you map it? So everything that it needs to do, everything that it has did after basically writing to files or making any changes, it basically creates the ledger in this middleware. So we're trying to run it. When trying to run it, basically I try to capture. So I try to capture the true results, and every time after capturing the true results here, what I try to do is finally, after everything has been processed, after truths got executed, this is basically my post hook. You can think of it as my post hook. So it will capture the true result, and basically, okay, do I need to make, if it's writing to file, I would make changes like updating the agent trace and basically like ledging, executing the tasks which are required for basically agent tracing. Like that's basically the whole point of what I try to update, try to contribute to the rule, to the intent-driven code base that I've been working on. Does anyone have any questions, maybe?
Great. So maybe just one question from me. Were you able to create intents? So you showed us a code that would inject, but were you able also to integrate intent creation? And is that from like, so there are two types of intents. I didn't ask other people as well, hopefully that where they have thought about it. If I say hi, that one doesn't have a destructive intent, it would probably the agent would answer. But when is your hook able to intervene. If it is intervening early before the LLM selects a tool, it basically would do something. But if it is, because there's no, right there, the intent is just, there's nothing destructive, the agent probably will not call any tool. So how will your kind of hook handles that?
Yeah, so that was actually one of my questions myself, that what I was asking mine. So what I basically try to do is, if you need active intent, I gave it tools. So sometimes, yeah, if it's a simple prompt like basically hi, if it's hi, you don't need intents. It's just, you can just respond by just saying hi back or any kind of response. So what I try to do is update the system prompt. I think I have it here. What I try to do is update the system prompt. So, okay, if you need intent, so sometimes to make the LLM decide itself, okay, is there any major changes that might happen here based on the user fix? If so, call the list active intents. So you just make a tool call and get the intents. Then finally, you select the appropriate intent, then make changes, then move on. Don't do this. It's kind of hard, like the way I approached it. It might not be the most efficient, but what I try to is just delegate it to the LLM itself. Does that make sense? Does it make sense?
I think, yeah, it's like basically, you know, the tool, I mean, you guys will work also this week a lot more, is the tool is exactly that, just the tools. Like there are two types, deterministic call and probabilistic call. And the probabilistic tools, like tools, skills, are basically, and including also rules that the agent would have, is something that is probabilistic, while anything that you put conditions and things in the code are deterministic, right? So as long as you put it as a part of tool, and only when that tool is executed, and then some of, like, if tools are to be executed and they are determined whether they are destructive or not, then in principle, so yeah, it makes sense. So yeah, good.
Yeah, that's what I try to do, because enforcing it is easier. It became easier for me to just make the LLM decide.
Exactly. Yeah, so great. I think we are just a bit 10 minutes over, maybe 15 minutes over time. So yeah, if there are, just if there are questions, target the person in Slack and ask them. So that would be great. Okay, so before we continue, then we will probably stop recording and then start recording, but we will have 5 minutes, so we'll return back. So you can just go refresh, like at 15. So that's